now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Coles. The pandemic shook things up for all of us, how we work, play, and learn. When many schools switched to virtual learning, many families and their students switched schools. As Madeline O'Neill tells us in the first story in this Virtual Impact series, those changes could be lasting.
It was hard.
Hard making friends when you've never set foot in your middle school.
And it was just like standing in a room of strangers.
Making for a strange start to 6th grade for Presley Reinflesh. Hello. Who's dragging her feet a bit when it comes to virtual learning.
You get to hang out with me.
But there wasn't really anything to like about it.
Didn't really have a choice.
No.
Like so many parents, Mom Jennifer had to make a choice for both her daughters. Presley, who could handle the technology easily, stayed in the Madison Metropolitan School District. But 6-year-old Addie was different.
She cried almost every single day and was begging to go to a school that was open.
So sending her first grader to a private school with in-person learning turned out to be an easy choice. One many other parents made as well.
This has been our biggest year of enrollment that we've ever had with private pay families.
Chuck Moore is principal at High Point Christian School on Madison's west side.
Our challenge has been to create as normal as possible school in the midst of, I don't know, I think of it as crazy.
In-person classes have been going on for more than 150 days now.
5 cents is lower than 50 cents. So
Doing the math, Moore thinks that led to many families previously in public, virtual-only schools being interested in his school.
There was a lot of rejection of virtual as the best way to do it, and frustration. It depends on the student how well that works.
In our area's 5 biggest school districts, Department of Public Instruction numbers show enrollment went down at the start of the 2021 school year. In fall semester, Madison schools found most, about 90% of students who left were enrolled in the 4K and elementary school levels. Nearby Middleton Cross Plains thought it would add students this past school year. Instead, it lost hundreds. A district spokesperson says many of those families likely found in-person alternatives, while the district stayed virtual for half the year. For some, like the Janesville School District, a decrease in enrollment was part of an ongoing trend, expected, pandemic or no.
The pandemic has certainly highlighted the fact that, there are other options and choices.
Students there had the opportunity to return to class in person from day one or enroll in the district's established virtual charter school.
That school historically housed 200 to 300 kids. And so once that choice opened up under the premise of the pandemic, that enrollment bulged to 3,200.
DPI numbers show enrollment in Wisconsin's virtual charter schools nearly doubled from the 1920 school year to this school year.
Well, we definitely had the platform and all the tools.
The Wisconsin Virtual Academy saw a similar size jump at its K-8 charter school.
Where we ended up getting a lot of students this year, even after school started, because they realized they needed a more consistent plan. Nobody was kind of sure what was happening at their local district.
wait, if we round it.
Now, the question is, will students who transferred stay in their new homes? Janesville's virtual charter school is already seeing enrollment drop off, but not to pre-pandemic levels.
And the fact that our charter school typically had 200 kids in it, and we're looking at probably 400 next year, I think is a reflection of that.
Middleton Cross Plains, meanwhile, is projecting students will return as in-person classes do the same.
$3.60.
High Point Christian School is expecting its additional students to stay next year.
On our campus, I would say that we're up about 20, 25 students, which is a fairly significant deal for us. And it looks like that number is going to be higher next year.
Very nice.
Every single day she comes home and says, "Oh, I had the best day ever." And
Jennifer's youngest will be staying at her new private school.
that was probably the biggest thing, is knowing when we made the choice to take her, we probably weren't going to go back.
Difficult decisions now that may have a big impact on children's futures.
There's a lot of reasons why there's hope, I think.
High Point Christian School saw no COVID spread. Janesville, which has also been in person, saw next to none, according to the superintendent. We didn't hear back from Madison, Sun Prairie, or Beloit to get their take on all of this in time. After the break, our next two stories on how the pandemic affected academic performance and the solutions that experts suggest.
Do you have a coffee smile? Drinking coffee causes yellow teeth for thousands of people just like you. And whitening toothpaste just doesn't make those stains go away. Introducing Power Swabs, the first teeth whitening system that lifts coffee stains off your teeth in less than 5 minutes without whitening strips or trays.
I've smoked, I've drank coffee, I drink red wine. It makes my teeth darker. It doesn't make me feel good about myself. And using Power Swabs, it's made a difference.
So with the strips I've used in the past, most of them are like, you got to leave it on for 30 minutes, and the whole experience is just not comfortable. But with Power Swabs, I just snapped it open and rubbed it on, and it was good to go.
This didn't sting, it didn't burn, it didn't have an aftertaste. It was just a swab, and I just got to rub it on my teeth, and that was it.
The Secret is a tooth detergent and whitening agent developed by Dr. Martin Ginniker that lifts stains off of your teeth. Power Swabs remove stains on natural teeth, veneers, bonding, caps, and crowns. The best part is you just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you'll have whiter teeth. No more sitting at home with a whitening strip in your mouth for 30 minutes.
I've tried like every over-the-counter whitening because, you know, I'm one of those people that's like obsessed with white teeth. The Power Swabs were so easy to use. I don't have to have strips sitting on my face for an hour. I don't have to have a foam tray where I feel like I'm gonna gag or I'm gonna go play football.
When I used these whitening strips, I noticed when I would drink, I would get this crazy sensitivity. It would go right to my brain, and I'm like, I hate this. So why do I have to go through the monstrosity of this pain just because I want to whiten my teeth? With Power Swabs, there was zero sensitivity.
Show off your white smile this Memorial Day and call for your 5-minute solution. Order Power Swabs and receive 40% off the regular price. Yes, 40% off the regular price. Shipping is free. Plus, you'll receive a free Quick Stick pen. Visit powerswabs.com or call the number on your screen.
Welcome back to For the Record. For better or worse, your child's report card can define their success in school and beyond. That makes a pandemic-related trend even more concerning. We found falling GPAs and failed classes aren't unique to any one local district. Younger and older students alike are hoping to simply get through this past school year as best they can. Caitlin Halko's 3 sons spent a lot of their school year
Monster has come over to play
right here at home.
Grant is a very social kid. You know, socially, emotionally, he definitely suffered. You know, behavior was kind of all over the place. There were days that he would, you know, cry because he just was so bored.
It was Grant's social development more than his grades that suffered. But for his twin younger brothers, Alex and Ben, virtual 4K went well for a week. Except
and they had no interest in building any sort of a relationship with peers or teachers via Zoom.
Their need for speech services was what set them back the most.
As 4-year-olds, they just wanted nothing to do with it. It was like pulling teeth every day.
Living in the Middleton Cross Plains School District, theirs was one of the 5 largest school districts in our area that we asked for information about academic performance during the pandemic. We did that back in April. All but Sun Prairie got back to us. None but Janesville agreed to an interview.
This year we've been open the whole year.
Most of Janesville students have been in person this school year. But for the districts that got us the information, whether in person or virtual, grades are down and the number of failed classes is up.
Virtual work is a really good fit for some kids. But not all kids.
More than a quarter of the district's high school students failed at least one class in the fall semester. Juniors struggled the most. 1 in 3 got at least 1 F.
You know, that's always a concern. Those numbers are up a little bit, you know, from, you know, pre-pandemic, certainly.
Across the board, GPAs fell too. The high school average dropped from 2.6 to 2.4. Janesville is not alone. Beloit's GPA fell from over 2.0 to 1.5. Madison schools were mostly virtual until recently and are a bit more complicated. Their apparent GPA increased to 3 from 2.8, but the district also shifted to a pass-fail format, and some classes aren't factored in yet. However, a fifth of their high school students failed at least one class in the fall semester. The number of high school students failing at least one class more than doubled from the last school year in Middleton, which also saw an increase in middle school students at least partially failing one class. A spokesperson said summer school is one way they'll rebuild. Janesville plans to recoup through summer school and also using federal COVID relief money to help with long-term programming solutions.
We're really prioritizing intervention programming and remediation programming, and making sure that we have high quality instructional resources in the hands of our kids.
Average attendance stayed fairly strong, 90% or higher in both Janesville and Madison. Beloit hovered at about 80%. Ultimately, recovering from learning loss going forward will take some time.
They're getting what they can.
Summer break may not be much of a break at all for many children. Those failing grades we just talked about is putting pressure on many parents to get their kids back up to speed before fall to stop their child from falling behind even further. Amanda Quintana reports.
They're calling it the COVID slide.
A slippery slope that's led many students down a challenging path, especially in reading and math.
The virtual learning is just not... It didn't work.
Priscilla Gressens, assistant director of the Arnold Reading Clinic, is tutoring more than a dozen students right now. The group had to hire more tutors to keep up with the high demand during the pandemic.
Their confidence is so low, and that's what I'm seeing among a whole sorts of kids because of COVID and not being able to do what their other students can do.
She says it's no fault of the teachers who tried their best or parents who had to work, but many students just weren't getting the help they needed at home.
Some of them would play video games all day because there was no parent there to help them.
She has spots open for this summer, knowing not all parents can pay for tutoring, but it's important that this summer all parents find a way to get their kid up to speed, or they'll be even further behind once school starts again.
It is making the achievement gap worse. We're going to have some that are way ahead and some that are way behind. We're not going to have that middle ground anymore.
One option is MMSD Summer School, either online or in person.
They come in, eat breakfast. We do some community building, or what we call a morning meeting. So an opportunity just to kind of acclimate yourself back into school with your friends, with your classmates.
But your student had to be invited to attend. Schools targeting those who especially struggled with virtual learning and had low attendance. Almost 4,500 students signed up for the rigorous 6-week session. If your student isn't one of those, you can also look into MSCR camps or Madison area out-of-school time programs at community centers across the city, both with some limitations due to COVID. MMSD is also working right now to get reading and math programs up online so parents can work on those with kids at home.
It could be just part of their routine of the day, right? I mean, that or otherwise, pair up with a friend, do some partner challenges. A lot of them is in somewhat of a game-like setting, which some kids really enjoy.
The key is doing exercises consistently.
Read with them. Not just read to them, but set aside time to just sit down and as a family read. Put the phones away, turn off the TV, and read a book. And do flashcards for math. Because as long as you know your math facts, you can catch up a lot faster.
Gressen says it's going to be hard work, but parents can and need to get kids caught up.
Because otherwise, they're just going to keep falling further behind. And once they can't catch up, they feel... their self-worth feels worse. And so then they feel like they can't do it.
Amanda Quintana, News 3 Now.
You can find all these reports online right now at Channel 3000. Thanks for joining us today on For the Record, and have a safe and healthy week.